Last Wednesday, we began with ashes and vapor. And then on Sunday, we heard the wilderness answer back. Jesus is baptized. The heavens open. A voice names him beloved. And immediately, not later, and certainly not as a punishment, the Spirit leads him into the desert. 40 days. No food. But then company arrives. You know what strikes me in this story? The devil doesn't come looking monstrous. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Years ago, someone tricked me into watching The Exorcist. I do not recommend that movie. In it, we see the spinning head, the green vomit, the shrieking. I watched the whole thing without reacting. The old me was really good at that. And at the end, he asked, "So, what do you think?" I answered, if only evil were that ugly, we'd recognize it every single time. But you know, it isn't ugly. Not even close. Evil often arrives dressed as desire. It can even be disguised as necessity. Quite often, it's beautifully gift-wrapped. And when it's presented that way, Jesus doesn't argue with it. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't try to explain himself. He just stays inside himself with the Father and says, no. That's the whole lesson. Simple until you're starving in the desert. Let's unpack it a little bit more, though. First, I want to read the whole thing. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. But he answered, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, again it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their glory. And he said to him, all these I will give to you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. Now let's walk through what actually happened. The gospel says Jesus was hungry. That detail matters. He wasn't in a comfortable philosophical debate. He was in a human body, a starving one. And the first offer meets that hunger directly. If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. That's not a trick. It's bread, real bread for a real body in real need. But Jesus answers, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. So then the offer shifts. Satan takes him to the top of the temple and quotes scripture back to him. God says he loves you. Wouldn't it be good to feel that, to know it, to have proof? Don't we all want to just be loved? He says he will command his angels concerning you. But Jesus answers, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. And then finally, a mountain, all the kingdoms of the world, their glory, their fullness, which, by the way, already belonged to Jesus. Satan is offering him what is already his, just faster, cleaner maybe, and for sure without the cross. All these I will give to you if you will fall down and worship me. And Jesus says, be gone, Satan. And Satan leaves, as he always must when commanded. Now here's the thing that wrecks me about the exchange. Jesus never says the bread is bad. He never says wanting assurance is weakness. He never says the kingdoms aren't rightfully his. In fact, every offer is real. Every offer is good. Every offer is something Jesus actually wants and actually deserves. The problem isn't the thing. It's the terms, the source. It's what you have to hand over to get it early. That's the wilderness test, not can you resist evil, but can you recognize it when it looks good? The preacher in Ecclesiastes ran this same test all the way through, the long way. Here's the whole thing. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. But behold, this also was vanity. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and whatever my eyes desired I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had expended in doing it, and behold, it was all vanity and a striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. Ecclesiastes 2 is the preacher doing exactly what Satan suggested. He tries everything: pleasure, projects, work, building, gardens. He refuses his heart nothing. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. So he builds houses, plants vineyards, gathers silver and gold, gets singers, gardens, servants, and then he says, whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, and behold, all was vanity and a striving after wind. He ran the full experiment. He took every beautiful offer, and at the end, vapor. Not because the things were evil, but because he built his life inside them like they were load-bearing walls, and they weren't. I know what that collapse feels like. My marriage came wrapped in everything I thought I wanted, and in many ways it was beautiful enough to worship. Real joy, real laughter, a home people loved being in. Our boys still described their childhood as happy. Friends were drawn to what we had built. The light was real. I want to say that clearly. The light was real. And I, like the preacher, refused my heart nothing when it came to protecting that. I took seriously the call to submit. I practiced it sincerely. I treated it as obedience. What I failed to hold with equal weight was the condition Scripture places around that submission. Because biblical submission is never unilateral. It is only commanded with a love that mirrors Christ's love for the church. A love that lays itself down, protects, tells the truth, gives up power instead of gathering it. I submitted where Scripture called for mutuality. I accommodated where Scripture required sacrifice from the other side. I bore weight that was never assigned to me. And that's exactly where it connects to Jesus on that mountain. He was offered real things, true things, things he was hungry for and entitled to. The temptation wasn't to want something wrong. It was to reach for something right through the wrong door. And that's what I did. I took the beautiful thing, family, partnership, belonging, and reached for it through a door that required me to disappear, to hand over my safety, my identity, my voice. I wasn't worshiping my marriage. I was leaning on it in a way you lean on a wall you believe is load-bearing. And it wasn't. That's not worship. That's a structural misunderstanding with a very long recovery. And here's what Jesus does with that same situation. He doesn't argue with the offers. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't say the bread is bad or the kingdoms aren't rightfully his. He just keeps returning to the same ground every single time. It is written. Not my hunger, not my need for proof, not even my rightful inheritance, but it is written. That's it. That's a whole answer. The word. The thing that exists outside the transaction. The thing that can't be gift wrapped or offered on better terms by the wrong source. The thing that doesn't require you to disappear to receive it. The preacher gets there too, but the long way. He runs the full experiment, takes every beautiful offer, builds everything he can build, refuses his heart nothing, and at the end of it all, he doesn't despair. He just stops pretending the gifts were ever the foundation. Everything under the sun is vapor. The word is not under the sun. That's the only wall that holds. And because I can't resist, here's another sidebar note. Evil has excellent gift wrapping, 0 return policy, no store credit. Shop accordingly. So here's where I'll leave you this week. What is the good thing in your life that you've been treating like a foundation? Not the ugly stuff, not the obvious idols. The beautiful thing. That partnership, the dream, the answer that arrived exactly when you prayed for it, and you took that as a sign you were allowed to stop asking questions. Lent doesn't ask you to reject the gift. It asks you to find out what's underneath it. Because the gift was never the foundation. It was always just a gift. And that's enough for this week. We'll keep walking, and while we do, I encourage you to be brilliant. This is Everything Under the Sun, a Lenten journey through Ecclesiastes. I'm Carrie Kunkel. Stay close.